Welcome to our Free Thinking Logistics podcast, a podcast supported by Freeth, looking at the world of logistics and supply chain. Today, I'm delighted we are joined by Melanie Tassel, who's the Director of Sustainability and Communications of Bicester Logistics, Kate Lester, who's the founder of Diamond Logistics, and Philippa Dempster, who is a Senior Partner and Managing Partner of the London office of Freeth. So welcome, ladies. Welcome to this edition. We're focusing, I suppose, on women in logistics today. However, logistics is a really exciting place to be at this moment in time. And our audience, I know, is really keen to hear about new ideas, new developments, new solutions that are coming to the logistics industry at this moment in time. So let's start off by asking each of you to introduce yourself and a bit about your organisation. Melanie, thank you for hosting us here at Bicester in this new great facility. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the business that you operate in.
Hi, thank you. Hello, everyone. So, we're here at our Bicester site for Bicester Logistics. We originally set up the business in 2020 as a delivery service partner for Amazon over in Swindon. But we're here now in our new site that we opened this year, where we've got about 23 full-time staff now and 15 vehicles and our own warehouse and fulfilment centre. So delivering parcels and pallets across Oxfordshire and the UK. We are relatively new to the warehousing side, despite having sort of 20 plus years experience in transport and logistics. And my background is very much the environmental management side of that and sustainability. So it was bringing all that under one roof. That was a really good combination to be able to offer, moving forward in the logistics industry, a greener solution to our customers. We've invested heavily in electric vehicles, plastic-free fulfilment, and we needed a solution in terms of offering our customers the best service, which is where we partnered with Diamond Logistics and took on their integrated platform, Dispatch Lab, which I'm sure Kate will be able to expand on and explain a bit more about, but basically with the new state-of-the-art system to be able to integrate with multiple carriers all under one platform and give our customers the best service, and that's where we're at today.
Brilliant. Melanie, thank you for that. I mean, it's very exciting. Obviously, we've had a little look around the facility this morning, and to see some of the electric vehicles and all the things you're doing around sustainability, it's going to be great to unpack that as we talk more during the podcast. Kate, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Well, thank you for having me. My name's Kate Lester. I'm the founder of Diamond Logistics that is coming up to 31 years old. So that was back in 1992. Diamond Logistics has now expanded into the Diamond Logistics and Technology Group, which is an umbrella company for 3 different businesses we have. So Diamond Logistics is effectively the services that we provide to thousands of customers all around the UK for fulfilment and overnight and international delivery and same-day courier. And then we give people such as Melanie and her team here the opportunity to join our network. And we're building a UK-wide network of Diamond Logistics sites all around the UK so that we can reach more businesses to help them deliver. And then also we have a technology company called Dispatch Lab, and Dispatch Lab provides a one-stop logistics platform on which our network manages all of its logistics, and our customers manage all their integrations with the marketplaces and all of the carriers. So that's what we do.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kate. It's exciting times for the group and the business as a whole. Philippa, turning to Freeth, thank you for supporting this podcast as always, and lovely to meet you. Tell us a little bit about Freeth's and your role and how you see the business has developed and is developing.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Freeth are delighted to be part of this initiative today. It's really important, I think, to raise profile of women within logistics. It's certainly something that's dear to my heart. So a little bit about Freeth. We're a national law firm. We have 12 offices up and down the country, about 1,100 people altogether, so lots of strength in depth. We work for very small businesses through to very large businesses like Eddie Stobart, for example. And for me, I've been working in logistics now for 25 years, so seen lots of change. My background is I'm a litigation lawyer and I'm also a commercial lawyer, so a little bit unusual because most lawyers specialise in one thing or another. But I started my career as a litigation lawyer and then quickly realised that actually we need to stop that from happening. So a lot of that comes from contracts, making sure your contracts are formed in the right way with the right things in it. So you use them as a carrot and stick rather than heading off to the courts. So my practice over the last 20 odd years has been very much dovetailing both of those.
Very good. And obviously we'll explore the sort of culture of Freeth as we go through the podcast. But as we've done a number of these podcasts now, it's been exciting to see how many different people and areas of expertise and sectors that come with the offices as well. So we've got the national coverage, but boy, have you got a breadth of coverage as well. So maybe we'll explore some of that as we go through the podcast.
Yeah, love to.
It's been great you've all been a long time in logistics. I know, Melanie, you said you've been environmental and logistics, but the business and the sector as a whole is really quite exciting. How would you, maybe if I start with you, Kate, how would you capture how logistics or the service of logistics solutions to clients, because fulfillment and e-commerce is booming, how has that really transformed over the last 10 years or so? How would you encapsulate that sort of development?
It's incredible, really. Logistics is one of those businesses which is as ancient as the Greeks and the Romans, but continues to evolve at such a pace. And the transition in the last 10 years has been incredible. I think one of the things that we've really been able to harness in the last year is the beauty of technology and how that's made our businesses more efficient, and also helped us to deliver once unheard of ability to integrate with our client systems and make those client relationships really sticky as well. There are a few dinosaurs left in the industry, and I think that incorporates them from a cultural sort of perspective and a technological perspective. But I think when you've got new companies coming forward like Darker Logistics, supported by what Diamond is doing, then you can see the huge enhancements in terms of technology have made that possible to happen. I think you've also seen an awful lot of people coming together, because ultimately speaking, logistics is a numbers game. And unless, as a single logistics provider, it's very difficult for you to provide the standard of service, the quality of kind of marketing culture, reputation, and the standard of technology, and also the negotiation of the like carrier accounts. So you need those economies of scale. So we're very much trying to do it on a sort of local, national basis. So you've got local ownership to drive those real quality of client relationships, and that's important, particularly post the pandemic. We're all about relationships now. People want to do business with people, so that local relationship is important, but we want to twin that with national and international capability and world-class standards in terms of technology, and that only comes from scale. So, the bigger logistics companies become, the more successful they are, as long as they don't lose track of that client experience. And I also, thank goodness, after 31 years, see a complete shift in terms of professionalism in the industry. Sadly, I've been around, or fabulously, I've been around for 31 years. And there's plenty of sites, I was just saying today about how pristine the site is here in Bicester. That, once upon a time, there's plenty of sites I used to wipe my feet on the way out rather than on the way in. And it was run by a particular group of kind of dinosaurs that thought that ongoing kind of cultural thing was fine in logistics, but now we've become a service company. We're in the service sector. It's all about client experience. It's all about culture. And finally, I think the diamond zeitgeist has arrived, where our long-standing values are now what we're able to replicate around the industry. Yeah. So at scale, it's all about technology and it's about professionalism. And I think that's the real key part of the last 10 years.
Yeah, I love the diamond zeitgeist. I like that. I think I'm going to take that away, Kate. Yeah. Brilliant. Melanie, I see Darsico as a little bit of a disruptor because obviously you're passionate about sustainability. You want to focus really the high quality service. Do you support what Kate's saying in terms of how the local firms can buy into national solutions? Because supply chains are global, aren't they? So Darsico are a part of that.
Absolutely, but I completely agree with what Kate said. It's having those local solutions, having someone that the customers can talk to, pick up the phone to still. It's not just all done by email, but keeping ahead of those technologies with the new systems that are out there and the platforms, and bringing in the sustainable options. The transport and logistics system has got to change and move forward, especially if we're going to deliver the government's net zero ambitions. So we can't be stuck in the past. We need to jump ahead of those, which is why I say we've invested in the sustainable technologies. and are trialling new things all the time, trying to get government support and funding to move the logistics sector forward. So yeah, as well as having the technology, we're embracing, we've always embraced diverse and engaged workforce, and that's integral to be able to move forward with it as well.
Very good. And it's exciting to see businesses grow and evolve. Philippa, you've supported so many over the years, and Freeth deal with, as you said, the very large and the evolving, the growing businesses in these new areas. Do you see logistics as a key area of development for Freeth and the services that you can provide to these growing businesses evolving as well, looking back, but now looking forward?
Yes, we've actually taken the decision a couple of years ago now to form a logistics sector of expertise across the business. And I think that's really important because logistics is very different to a range of other businesses.
Yes.
It's tight margin, it always has been. But technology is playing a really important role, both bringing in efficiency, but also on that customer demand side.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to know where their product is, when, and you've got the ultimate consumer often in these businesses. Ultimate consumers are often wanting to know that information very quickly, and time to get things to different locations now is eye-watering in lots of cases. So I think it's an area where if you don't understand those issues, you can overcomplicate, and it's really important that you don't. You've got to keep this simple, you've got to keep it effective, you've got to keep the businesses ultimately doing what they need to do quickly and effectively. And where technology comes into play, often you find there's over-promising and under-delivering, and it's that balance and making sure again that where you're protecting businesses from that and understanding what they should be getting. And sometimes it's just miscommunication. So really digging down and understanding what you're going to get for your money and when you're going to get it, so that you're then not over-promising to your own customers is really important.
Yeah, I think it's really important to recognise that we deliver things as a business. We're a very pragmatic industry in logistics, but this imposition and opportunity that technology brings changes a lot, and sometimes it brings risks that clients don't always see. And although they're trying to achieve resilience in a changing world, quite often it actually changes their commercial model or maybe their engagement with customers. So advice and protection is strong for those areas, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Good. Just thinking of risk and resilience, actually, we've been through two quite tough years, quite challenging years with the pandemic, obviously. But the logistics industry, in its response to supporting vaccine distribution, testing kits, has actually come out of it with quite a high media profile. Kate, thinking about the fulfillment solutions and that media profile, do you think it's a much better time now to be out talking about the industry and promoting the industry and attracting maybe more talent towards the industry as a consequence of what it's achieved over the last couple of years?
I think logistics is a word we understand now, isn't it? I mean, I remember when we did the Olympics, there was that big sort of UPS thing about the logistics that they were setting up, and all of a sudden people knew what Diamond Logistics actually meant, which was a rebrand we did in 1996. So I thank them for their PR at the time. But in terms of how we've come out of it, I still think there's a lot of general public misunderstanding in terms of what we deliver and for how much. I think there is an incredible skill set to be able to deliver for £3 something that you input into a carrier network in Plymouth one day and deliver to Edinburgh the next. And the complexities of that and the lack of client understanding in terms of what happens if it doesn't go wrong is still something we need to communicate about. I think logistics is a huge support for other people's businesses. And now I think people are becoming to understand that they don't want logistics in-house. They want to outsource their logistics, because in the same way I wouldn't by any way, shape or means want to do my own litigation or commercial work. I'd like to outsource that to a great law firm. And I wouldn't want to service my car because, frankly, I put diesel in, and that's pretty much all I understand. But people want to outsource their logistics as well, because you really need that specialist skill set to be able to do it properly. And then the other thing, which I think is one of the only certainties we've had in a very uncertain world in the last couple of years, you need to have something which has business continuity built in. And so when you're looking for outsourcing your logistics solution, we've seen the Royal Mail strikes, we've seen the overwhelm of DPD, we've now seen the IT issues with the Royal Mail, we saw the IT issues with TNT, and so it kind of goes on. in an uncertain world, you've got to plan for business continuity. So you've really got to be looking in terms of your logistics provision, in terms of that business kind of continuity. And I've got to just have one 30-second rant about Brexit. Brexit was the biggest mistake we've made in the last 10 years. And the impact of the decision that was made in 2016 only truly hit the logistics industry last year when we came to the end of the transition agreement.
Yeah.
And that's had a huge impact in terms of our clients and what they've distributed. We lost about 0.25% of revenue, which luckily we're a fast expanding network, so we've managed to make that up. But our international revenue is 95% down compared to what it was this time prior to the transition arrangements. That's driven the RPC down throughout our network. But most importantly, we've got companies within our network that for 150 years have delivered internationally and have had to cease because the rules are not in place for them to be able to deliver their goods efficiently. We've just had our first bankruptcy within the network of quite a substantial medical appliance company that's been around since the late 1990s because it was duties that were due that effectively put them into bankruptcy. So that Brexit thing has been one of the biggest challenges, not the pandemic. The pandemic was okay because we functioned as normal. We were like the people working in grocery stores or whatever.
You raised the profile.
But Brexit has been the mistake. So whether it's from the HMRC software, whether it's to customs keeping stuff stuck, whether it's due to the carriers having to change their rules because France was changing its mind or the Netherlands was changing its mind, that's where the biggest issue has been in the industry in the last few years.
Kate, you're allowed a soapbox. You're on the podcast, so that's okay. We appreciate your view. Thank you for that.
And they say no to talk about politics.
Melanie, clearly, as Kate said, there's been a lot of change and we've got a very high profile. As I said, I think because of your absolute commitment to sustainability as a business, people would see you as a disruptor. We've walked around the site. You are a core logistics business offering a great service to clients. How has the last 2 or 3 years been for Darsica and your development and evolution against your original plan? And have you evolved into something slightly different as a consequence?
Yeah, I think when we set up the logistics company, it wasn't to just set up another logistics company. With our backgrounds and our passion for the environment, we knew we wanted to do something that would make a difference. We've got young children, we want to look for their futures, and logistics is a high impact sector. There's no doubt about that. Transport's one of the worst emitters of CO2 emissions. So, we knew we could do things differently. And we were really passionate about wanting to do things differently. And so we went in it right from the outset of knowing that we wanted to offer sustainable solutions. And that really is how we've taken it forward. Yes, we've hit hurdles along the way. It's not been easy. There's been limitations on some of the new technologies and vehicles that we've got, but it's a learning curve. And to say we're enjoying every step of the way. We want to provide that customer service as well. We're finding that more and more businesses, they share our ethos, they're sharing our values in terms of sustainability, and they're the kind of people we're embracing and want to work with and move forward with. Someone recently said about us, I think it's clear that you have logistics as a business, but sustainability as an ethos, and I think that really encapsulates what we're trying to do here at Darsica.
Very good. Yes, and I mean it's great to hear somebody so passionate about things that's so critically important to us all, Melanie. So thank you for sharing that. Philippa, we've got really 2 logistics entrepreneurs sitting here, haven't we? And Freeth really supports in many different ways that entrepreneurial talent. So the last 3 years for you and for Freeth and its development, have you seen an increasing level of support for clients in the logistics sector, obviously, or has it been something that's just business as usual for Freeth? How's it affected the business of Freeth really?
It's certainly, we've seen an increase. I think part of that over this period has been the increasing home deliveries and speed of it. So working with platforms like Zap, where the home deliveries on groceries. You've also had Amazon coming into the market and being able to deliver things very quickly, which has caused everybody else to do things exactly the same. Technology has been massive in the industry, and electric vehicles. We do lots of work on green energy, batteries, storage as well in logistics companies, as well as the green energy side with EV vehicles. Seeing all that come through in a lot of the contracts now. We're seeing what we call known as chancery lane clauses, which is a specialist clause bank that we as a firm and other firms have contributed to, which bring those ESG and environmental aspects out. Those have come to the fore, and I think there's always, as I said, a really tight industry. Recruitment's been a big aspect too, of making sure people are coming within and staying within the business, and that's really important. So for us, we've actually seen an increase in the work that we've done in the sector, and bringing all of those specialisms together to help people, because they're multifaceted, has been really important. So it's you get the job done quickly.
Very good, very good. I shall probably follow up with you about those chance relaying clauses to make sure I really understood what you were talking about. But I mean, it's great to see even the legal profession evolving to keep up to date with what their clients require and what the business environment looks like. And you're right about technology; it's changing so quickly and changing everything we do so quickly. It's going to be fascinating to
it's
support
also
that.
The illegal industry collaborating together to understand and to bring out clauses that people will then look at and actually accept, because what we don't want is to put things in contracts that are pie in the sky.
Yes.
There's no point, and we're on that journey, all of us. So the key to it is to have things that are hard-edged, but that there's a progressive period over which we can bring the requirements further and further hard-edged.
Yes.
It's a journey that we're all going through, but if we don't start, then as Melanie said, it can be more of a dream or more of an aspiration. We have to get real to make these changes happen, and we have to start doing it.
That's brilliant. Great to hear from a lawyer, Philippa. Thank you. We're a really pragmatic and hands-on industry, and it's great that you represent us in that way as well. You touched there about recruitment. I'd like just to sort of reflect on your businesses and how you go about attracting talent into the industry, actually into your business, obviously, and the industry as well. Do you believe that the ethos of the business and the vision of the business, Melanie, in terms of how you go about attracting people, has made a difference to you? Do people come to you because you're a disruptor, because you're environmentally committed, you've got this focus and passion for doing things in the right way?
Yeah, I think it definitely sets us apart. People can see, especially being a family-run business. I mean, we've named Darcy's even named after our daughters. Their names are put together. So, and once people sort of understand that and the background and our passion to wanting to make a difference, they can see that reflects on them as our workforce as well. And we're very much a team here at Darcyca. Things that our staff get involved in, they're sort of with us, say, every step of the way, in terms of wanting to grow and develop the business with us and supporting them as individuals through, whether it be through apprenticeships or through different growth programs, is really, really important to us. And it's a big part of running a successful business in terms of having that engaged workforce, which is really key to us, and we know will outperform other companies in terms of having that support network and team and working together.
Very good. And yes, high engagement is always a watchword. If you look at your employees and your colleagues as a whole, if they're really committed to the vision and the ethos of the business, you're absolutely right. You get a lot more commitment to the clients and the business processes that you implement. Okay. Kate, I mean, obviously you've been working in our industry for a long time. You've grown a very substantial business and an exciting business, and you keep evolving it as you described. How important has your personal approach to leadership and diversity and just doing the right things at the right time been in that growth over that period of time?
I'm a lot poorer than a lot of men in the logistics industry. And I say that with a smile on my face. But one of the reasons for that is that I passionately believe that leaders should eat last, which is a really great Simon Sinek book if anyone wants to read that. And ultimately speaking, one of my real passions is that we do this via shared success. It's all got to be about a partnership business model. And so I believe in the long term it will pay off, absolutely. So number one, you can't build a great business unless you build a great team. But as a leader, it's your job to shoulder responsibility and share and shelter your team from that. In addition to that, I think it's really important that you ensure that all stakeholders have a personal reason for being engaged in it. So whether that's bonus schemes or whether that's shareholding or whether it's owning your own local network partnership whereby you know that you and your family are going to benefit from the revenues there, I think that's really important as well. That also means that the quality of service delivery from our individual network partners is better than any nationwide kind of logistics provider, because they have really built-in care factor because their mortgages depend on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that whole passion in terms of local ownership and management. Now, in terms of diversity, quite frankly, up until about 10 years ago, I was a bit rubbish at it as well. Everyone would presume that as a female leading a logistics business, I would be different, and I wasn't. And it took me to have a long, hard look at my business and think about how I had still a patriarchal bias within my business as well. And once we addressed that, that's when we started really growing. That's once we addressed diversity, we addressed innovation, we addressed progress, we addressed values, we addressed our green agenda, we addressed all of it. And I'm not just talking about diversity in terms of boy versus girl. I'm talking about diversity in terms of age.
Mm-hmm.
Our age breadth within the business is vast. I'm talking about diversity in terms of culture, religion, sexuality, etc., etc. And diverse opinions make us more relatable to our client base, and it keeps team being engaged as well. And that diversity helps with innovation. And innovation is where, in a very low margin industry, as you mentioned before, innovation is where we need to sit, because we need to do it in a way which is different and entrepreneurial and a bit bootstrappy, because that's the way it is. So yeah, it's certainly been a journey.
That's great. Great insight. Thank you, Kate, to that. Philippa, Freeth has always been recognised as a market-leading, culturally, a market-leading legal firm. How have you supported that personally in the development? Because you've been there quite a while now and been instrumental in that change. So just for our listeners, bring a little bit of that alive, really, how you've helped encourage and develop the business, develop in a more diverse way.
Well, I am the chair of the diversity committee, and what we, as a large business, I'm sure many businesses do, we very much look at a plan as to how we can create change. The legal profession has traditionally been very male dominated, but what we're now seeing is 85% of our trainees coming through are women, which is a big shift from where it was when I first joined the profession. We still at partner level have around about 25-30% of women now are partners, but we have a lot more who are directors who are on that journey, who are our other future partners. Mm-hmm. And we have about 28% of our board that is female. But as Kate said, what was really important is not just the male, female, or any gender discussion. It's much wider than that, culture. Yes. And everything else. And I think for me, the bits that are really important is, first of all, that understanding of each other, the unconscious bias that you just can't help quite often to bring into decisions. You have to really think carefully and sense check yourself. So we do spend a lot of time on training on that, because we think it's really, really important. And the language that changes, even certainly annually, that we have to be really careful about. So I think we have role models within the business. We have very clear promotion pathways, so it's easy and transparent. And we try to bust those perceptions which are not reality. Sometimes people think that certain people have to work harder. It's not about that at all. It's about results. It's about doing what you can. We have lots of family-friendly policies so people can work part-time, because everybody's going through a journey, whether it's care, whether it's with elderly, whether it's young people, young children, as you're growing up, as various parts of your career, you have different amount of time that you can spend. But what we want is people to be passionate, engaged, loving it, doing what they want, being fulfilled, because ultimately it's about customer experience as well, and happy people are good at delivering that.
Yeah,
customer experience.
Happy people, happy customers. By the sounds of things, I think you've all reflected on that as a journey. If your business is up for it, fully motivated, then that reflects, and passionate about what you do, then that reflects in the impression and the service you offer to your customers. So it's good to hear that the law firm and Freeth is embracing that as part of its ongoing journey, I think, Philippa, which is great. I'd just like to turn, probably lastly before we close off it, to return to business efficiency. What innovation is happening in the marketplace? How you see maybe the next 2 to 3 years in logistics looking like, and maybe a bit longer. I mean, if there's we talk about the growth of electric vehicles, Melanie, then you're on a 2030, 2040, 2050 agenda, transforming that 37%, I think, is the number of emissions that we put in, carbon emissions that the industry puts out as part of the UK's commitment to reduction. How do you see technology, innovation, mindset as part of that business change? And what are you really looking forward to, I suppose, Melanie, for Darsica over the next 5+ years?
I think for us, as you just mentioned, the big thing for us is the decarbonisation on how we get our goods. It's a key priority for the UK and certainly for us personally, in terms of making sure that we're providing a good service, but one that doesn't cost the earth in both ways, in terms of cost efficiencies, but also sustainable options. And that's going to be the key for us moving forward. As I mentioned, we know we're in a high impact sector, but we want to be at the forefront of delivering that change. To say we've got the experience of it, we're trialing the different vehicles that are out there, whereas some companies haven't even thought about moving into those kind of those areas of technology yet. So for us, it's really is at the forefront of what we're doing.
And you've moved recently into warehousing with this the new site acquisition and bring on board. We've had a look around. Everything you do seems to be focused on reducing your environmental impact and your people and encouraging them to do the same. Is that something you can see growing and developing as part of your strategy?
Absolutely. As I said, it's a key focus for us. We're always looking at new opportunities, new funding. There's a lot of grants out there that we can access to help move forward on the sustainable innovation. And we want to be, I say, at the forefront of that. It's a real passion of ours, but not forgetting the whole term in terms of bringing our customers with us on that journey, and making sure that we provide them the best service as well.
That's great. Thank you, Melanie. Kate, you're clearly in a technology-rich, you're in a high-impact business, you're fast-growing, and you're looking to do lots of new things for your clients. How do you see that next 3-5 years for Diamond and your approach?
From a technological perspective, I just want to link into the green thing a little bit as well. I mean, effectively speaking, the only way we're going to make the industry more efficient is to ensure that we maximise the transparency of the supply chain through excellent technology. And once upon a time, going back to 1992, you used to get a van to go up to Edinburgh, it used to come back empty. That's incredibly inefficient. Now, with the transparency of our system and the allocation of the closest Diamond network partner driver, and we can track all those empty vehicles and make sure we're co-loading on the way back. So that's increasing efficiency. Obviously, the consolidated services via the carrier is the least impact because you've got an awful lot of consignments actually being consolidated through the overnight and international system. So we're going for that as well. And of course, Diamond was on the forefront of all of this. And I don't know if Melanie knew this. We've had a green agenda for the last sort of 20 years. One of the first people in the industry is to have a green checklist. And we've been offsetting with carbon footprint for some time. And we're looking into a tree nation thing with new accounts so we get to sort of plant a tree. But carbon offsetting isn't enough. It's all about that efficiency piece. So the big technological trends I see sort of happening is us utilising AI an awful lot more for us to make great decisions for the people that we've got within the business, for increasing people efficiency in the business, which helps counter these low margins, which I think is important, from our warehouse management system, which maximises people's pick runs, but also ensuring they have a great quality of life as well. We're not talking about 30,000 steps working for some humongous kind of warehouse. You're talking about good working conditions whereby you're maximising pick efficiency based by the AI that's told you what are your key goods and where they should be positioned in the warehouse and making people really efficient. I think there's going to be a lot of automation, so it reduces the onus on people within the team to make job allocation decisions like on a same-day basis, because we've got this auto allocation stuff, and I think that's really important. That also drives down the unit cost of the employees because you're not looking for such a high skill set, and that means that they can function on the bits that people are best focused around, which is that client care, right? So let the machines, let the technology do the hard work so that we can do the bits that we're best at, and that's the people bit, because logistics, after all, is all about delivering promises to people, not just parcels.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Kate. I mean, that's a great segue, Philippa, because obviously the intellectual property and doing the things that machines can't do, clearly that's why your business exists, isn't it? To work with clients, to understand their future needs. How do you embrace technology and how do you advise clients in an environment where their business processes are changing fast, their technology is changing so fast? How do you keep up and how do you keep advising clients to do the right thing?
Well, we have an ESG team actually, and an energy team, which I've mentioned before, and it is very much about looking forward. For example, hydrogen is potentially coming down the track, although it's very difficult to actually transport it, and while that's going to all come through. I think for us, it's about looking at what's coming forward, preparing for that, bringing some of those ideas to clients, and also helping them when they have those, are having those conversations, so that we can protect them as much as possible and help them to take advantage. I mean, one of the other things at the moment is there's lots of greenwashing going on, and there's a lot of fines happening, not necessarily within the logistics industry, but wider than that, where people are making claims which are not true. And it's about making sure that people don't necessarily run too fast before they can walk. It's keeping them safe, but keeping them always looking forward, which is the most important thing. And for us, that's why we think having a sector and having a number of different sectors within the business that really focus on what's happening on the ground and what's coming forward. We have a horizon scanner for businesses to show you what's going to come in the next year and what's going to come in over the next 3 to 5 years. And that type of information is really important, and to upskill our lawyers so that they are multifaceted and thinking about those things means that we can really make sure that we're on top of our game. And like everybody, we're a service industry, we have to be on top of our game.
Brilliant. Thank you, Philip. That's great insights into what you're doing. I really appreciate that. So just to close off our podcast, it's been a great debate. We've covered a lot of ground. Maybe if I could turn to each of you and just ask you any final closing comments, and maybe 2 or 3 key takeaways that you'd like to leave our listeners with. Melanie, if I could start with you first, and just share some thoughts with us.
Sure, no pressure. So I think for us at Darsica, our focus now is just to continue to move the logistics industry forward, working with our partners through innovation, providing those sustainable options, and making sure that we are giving the best customer experience we can.
Brilliant. Nice and succinct. Thank you, Melanie. Kate?
I think number one would be stop thinking that the old way is the future. You've got to get with the program, really. So in the same way that Airbnb revolutionised the hotel business, platform businesses such as Diamond Logistics are revolutionising logistics. So join our network. Number two, you're only successful as the team you build, and that is based on your culture. You know, our key value is shared success. If you cut through my left arm, it would be round there like a stick of rock. So, you will only rise on the shoulders of the people that you manage to recruit with you. So really focus on building that team. But also it's about the twinning people with that automation and process, and dare I say it, contracts that dot the I's and cross the T's. Because as you expand a business such as Diamond Logistics, ultimately speaking, you want to make sure that you've got everything in hand so that you can scale it sort of sustainably. But the focus on all of that is you get the people, get the process, make sure everybody's agreed in terms of service level agreements, because it's all about that client experience. Mm-hmm. Ultimately speaking, you want happy customer delivery, happy client experience, and people just being joyful in terms of what you're delivering and supporting them with. So really focus on that client experience.
Great stuff. Great takeaways. Thank you, Kate. I'll pass finally to Philippa. Once again, thank you to Freeth for supporting this podcast. From our debate, Philippa, any final thoughts and maybe some takeaways from yourself?
Well, I think for me, what we've all been talking about today is incredibly exciting. The future's very exciting. There clearly are lots of opportunities for women. And I think today having Melanie and having Kate here is fantastic, because two amazing entrepreneurs, very driven, very forward thinking. And I think it's the logistics is a great future. It's not, as Kate said, sort of the grubby industry, if you like, that I remember from when I first started going around into warehouses, etc., and seeing quite a lot of dust, dirt, grime, and very few women. Now there's so many more opportunities because of all of the very different ranges of requirements that a logistics business has in order to be successful. So my key takeaway is really exciting times, really great opportunities. And for me, the sector is very, very important, and the future is bright.
Brilliant. Thank you, Philippa. Well, thank you to all three of you for your contributions today. This has been a Free Thinking Logistics podcast supported by Freeth, and you can connect with this podcast and many others via the Freeth website and on all the normal podcast channels. Thank you very much. Welcome to our Free Thinking Logistics podcast, a podcast supported by Freeth, looking at the world of logistics and supply chain. Today, I'm delighted we are joined by Melanie Tassel, who's the Director of Sustainability and Communications of Bicester Logistics, Kate Lester, who's the founder of Diamond Logistics, and Philippa Dempster, who is the Senior Partner and Managing Partner of the London office of Freeth. So welcome, ladies. Welcome to this edition. We're focusing, I suppose, on women in logistics today. However, logistics is a really exciting place to be at this moment in time. And